seconds, then I'll start. All right, to be mindful of time, we're going to get started. I just want to welcome you to this virtual college panel, part of a series of fairs. A few things that I'm going to tell you and everything that I am going to say, I'll throw in the chat as well. If you would like to ask a question at any time, the best way to do that is by using the Q&A button that's either at the top or bottom of your screen. Our panelists cannot see or hear you, so that Q&A button is going to be the only way that you can ask a question and get an answer during this 45-minute session. There are more sessions that can be signed up for the same place that you signed up for this one, and a recording of this will be sent out to anyone who signed up on our website, sent out to our panelists and anyone else who signed up for sessions this evening. One more time, just so you know, that Q&A button is the only way that you'll be able to ask a question and get a direct answer this afternoon. So please use the Q&A button. All right, with that, I am going to pass it on over to our panelist, Audra.
Thank you so much, Christy. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Adra Bowman. I am a transfer admission counselor at UC Santa Barbara, and I'm joined today by my two wonderful colleagues, Tim and Chris, who are both from UC San Diego and will be monitoring the chat for me. So I'll be going through our slides about transferring to the University of California, and Tim and Chris will be answering questions as they come in. So please give us your questions. We have just about 20 slides, so nothing too overwhelming. I'm going to turn off my video so I don't distract myself here. So the University of California is the top tier research university public system in California. We are comprised of 9 undergraduate campuses, as well as UC San Francisco, which only has graduate and medical school options. But you can see our 9 campuses scattered throughout the state on this slide. And every campus, while we are part of the same system and we all have many commonalities, including, the minimum admission requirements, access to amazing faculty, research opportunities, some majors are available at every single campus, but every campus also has its own unique flavors, not just in terms of the location, but also the campus climate and culture and size. There are some unique academic programs available at each campus. So we won't talk too much about the individualities of the 9 campuses today, but definitely join in the sessions later on today to talk to representatives from each campus. I will be in the UCSB session on the chat later on. So there are really fantastic, amazing opportunities at all of the campuses. Let's go on. So some logistics about applying to UC. The application is available each year on August 1st and then must be submitted in the month of November. So between November 1st and 30th. Now there's no benefit or priority to submitting it on the 1st versus on the 30th, although I recommend against waiting till the last day of the month. The application fee is $70 per campus or $80 per campus if you are an international student. So it's one application for all of the 9 campuses and then an additional fee for each campus you apply to. I'd say probably most students end up applying to more than one campus, but certainly some students only apply to one campus. Some students might apply to all 9. That's a very individual decision. Fee waivers are available for up to 4 campuses, and that is automatically calculated in the UC application when students enter their financial and family size information. So if you qualify for a fee waiver, that's automatically done in the UC application for up to 4 campuses. And then if you want to apply to additional campuses, you would pay the application fee. UC does not have an early action or early decision process. So this filing period is the only filing period for all of the campuses. There are some campuses which each year may open for winter or spring admission, in which case students can apply during the summer to start in the winter or spring. But those are only for certain campuses, and that's determined each year. Other than that, there's no early action or early decision process, but we do have some other cool admission programs, which we will talk about later in this presentation. So how do students choose a UC campus? There are many different factors that can go into this decision. These are just some of the common ones or maybe main ones. What size campus appeals to me? So the UC campuses vary widely, both in terms of physical size and student body population. So we have some relatively smaller campuses, and then much, much larger campuses. So that's definitely a factor to take into consideration. What location works best for me in terms of how far is this campus from my home and how far do I want to be from my home? Is the campus located in an urban or a rural or a suburban setting? Is it close to the ocean? Is it close to the mountains? So taking into consideration what factors are important to you as a student, and then which campuses may match those priorities. And then also thinking about what campuses offer majors in the areas that you are interested in. So I mentioned earlier, there are some majors, biology, for example, that are going to be available at every single campus. And then there are other majors like actuarial science that may only be an option at one or two campuses. So this is where it's really important for students to do their research both before they apply and after they apply in more detail about which campus is going to meet their needs. And so that's going to be different for every student. Some students may care a lot more about a campus having their specific major or academic program. Some students may care more about the physical size or location of the campus. And there are other factors to consider, such as financial aid, of course, that's going to vary from student to student. But I really encourage students to do their research, ideally before they apply, to maximize their opportunities. And UC campuses do have undergraduate and graduate populations, but specifically for undergraduates, which make up the majority of our students, 82% of our student body are California residents. So we are a public institution in California, and as such, we are publicly funded, and our priority are California students. Our priority is California students. 40% of our undergraduates are first generation college students, which we're very proud of, and we have a lot of support programs for those students. And about 28%, this may vary from year to year, of our newly enrolled students each year are from California community colleges and are transfer students. So about a third of the new students each year across the UC system are community college transfers. So they're a large population. In terms of academic engagement, our students at the UC are, not just getting a degree in a certain academic area, they're also getting involved outside of the classroom. So at most recent count, about 42% across the system of our students participated in community service, and that's specifically off-campus community service opportunities. An additional 30 or so % did some sort of community service on campus. Over half of our students did some sort of internship or practicum or field experience, and close to 85% did some sort of research or creative experience with faculty. Now, these are system-wide averages, so the exact percentages and exact opportunities may vary from campus to campus, but the point is that students have amazing opportunities for intellectual and social engagement, both in and outside of the classroom, no matter which campus they end up attending. UC also makes an effort to support all students in all types of identities. So every campus has a variety of student support services. These are just some of the populations that we have support services for. This is not a comprehensive or exhaustive list by any means, but all of the UCs support our undocumented students with legal services, with advisors, both for students who are undocumented and for students who may have mixed status families. We have underground scholars programs at many campuses, which are intended for students who are formerly incarcerated or in the prison system to help them succeed at the university and beyond. The Guardian Scholars Program is for former foster youth. So for students who were in the foster care system for part or all of their childhood, they can get additional, again, academic and social support at the UC. UC has always been a big supporter of veterans and military-related students, both for financial aid purposes and for social and emotional adjustments. The majority of our veteran students did come from a California community college prior to transfer. And first generation support services are also available with things like peer mentors, academic advisors, financial support to help those students kind of navigate the university and succeed in college and again beyond. Underrepresented student groups, racial and ethnic minorities, students with dependents, so student parents, and other sort of marginalized identities. Every UC campus has a variety of support services for students that identify with those groups. So they might have access to priority registration if a student has a child of their own, or family student housing, or again, academic advisors and financial support. So the big thing that students need to be aware of, I think, as a counselor, is that all of these opportunities and support services exist, but it is up to students to kind of take the first step and reach out to those services. There are often so many services that students may not know about them all. So making sure to communicate with UC's, transfer centers and admissions counselors to learn about what supports each campus has can really help students to take advantage of all of those opportunities and then maximize their experience at the UC. So one of the goals of the University of California is to prepare the next generation of leaders in California, in the US, and in the world. And so to do that, we support our students' whole being, their mental and emotional and physical well-being and health, not just their intellectual and academic development, although of course we focus on those as well. But various campuses have health and wellness programs. We all have, counselors, psychological services, student health services to help students access the opportunities to be their best and to succeed. We know that college is a stressful time. It is expensive and can be anxiety inducing. And so we acknowledge that and try to do our best to alleviate those concerns for students. Each campus also has a basic needs program, which can help students access basic needs such as food security, housing security, financial security. So again, making sure that students are aware these resources exist. They just need to take that first step to access them. So what about COVID-19? This is the big, question of the day. So it's important to know that all campuses intend to offer in-person instruction for fall 2021 and beyond. Now I say intend because of course this is pending public health guidelines. So if there's a turn for the worse in the pandemic, and if public health guidelines say otherwise, then individual campuses may need to make adjustments. But right now the plan is to offer courses in person. At least for UC Santa Barbara, we plan to accommodate international students with online offerings if they are not able to get into the US physically for travel or visa reasons. So that may be the case at other campuses as well. I don't know for every single campus, but that's something to be aware of that you can ask each individual campus. But otherwise, most courses should be in person starting this fall, which is very exciting. Our students and our staff and faculty are all anxious to get back on campus and see each other. And then know that all campuses will likely require the COVID-19 vaccination, with exceptions for medical and religious reasons. So there is a proposed vaccination requirement, which is going to go into effect once one of the vaccines has full FDA approval. So right now, all of the approved vaccines have emergency FDA approval. So the UC has proposed to require COVID-19 vaccinations once a vaccine has full approval. So stay tuned for that official announcement, but in all likelihood, by this fall, each UC campus will require that students are fully vaccinated unless they have medical or religious exemption. All right, so let's talk a little bit more specifically about transfer admission. What are the requirements? What are we looking for? How do students get from their college, their community college, or their four-year university to the UC as a transfer student? First, know that UC has a commitment to transfer students. So we actually have a system-wide and individual campus goal of enrolling one transfer student for every 2 freshman students that we enroll. So that's the 2-to-1 ratio, which means that 1/3 of the incoming students at each campus each year is a transfer student. We also have a commitment to California Community College transfers. So each campus prioritizes students transferring directly from the California community colleges in our transfer application review process. So community college applicants have a better chance of admission coming from a community college than if they are transferring from another four-year school or an out-of-state school or another UC campus. The Transfer Admission Planner, or UC TAP, is a website that is a free online tool for students to track and plan their progress towards transferring. It is designed for California Community College students, but any student can use it. For courses taken at the California community colleges, the Transfer Admission Planner actually indicates whether those courses are UC transferable and if they meet certain admission requirements. And the UC TAP can also be accessed by counselors at the community colleges and at the UC campuses to provide advising to students. So I encourage every prospective transfer student, regardless of which campus they are interested in, to create a transfer admission planner and then keep it up to date. It is entirely designed to help students with that transfer process. The UC transfer pathways are another way to help students prepare to transfer. So they are a list of courses, major preparation courses for the most sought after majors across the UC system. So there are about 20 majors. It may vary from year to year, but students can actually look up their major and see which courses they should take at their community college before transferring to apply to any of the UC campuses that offer that major. So it saves students some time, especially if they're not sure what campus is their top choice. If they want to prepare to apply to multiple campuses, the transfer pathways can help them organize themselves and make sure they're taking the right courses. And then the transfer admission guarantee, the tag, is a fantastic way for students to actually be guaranteed admission to one UC campus. So I have another slide on the tag that I'll go into more detail about soon. So transfer admission requirements for all transfer applicants to any UC campus is the 7-course pattern, which is 2 courses in English composition, 1 course in math beyond intermediate algebra, and 4 courses from at least 2 of 3 general education areas: the arts and humanities, the social and behavioral sciences, and the biological and physical sciences. So those 7 courses are required to be completed by the end of the spring before transfer. And those are the minimum. So students often take additional general education and major preparation courses, but the 7-course pattern is a strict requirement. And some of the 7-course pattern requirements may also be met with AP exams if a student took an AP exam in high school. The unit requirement. So as I mentioned earlier, all of the UC campuses admit students at the junior level, which is 60 semester or 90 quarter units at a minimum that have to be UC transferable. So those units don't have to be completed at the time a student applies, but by the end of the spring term before transfer, they need to have those unit requirements met. And there are some campuses which may also allow sophomore level students to apply, but that is the exception, not the rule. So students should look at the requirements for those individual campuses that offer that, but most campuses, it's only junior level. Now, there is a possibility for students to have too many units to transfer, but only if they have attended a UC campus or another 4-year institution. So for students transferring from a California community college and all of their units are from a community college, there's in effect no unit maximum. And then the GPA requirement to be eligible for admission is 2.4 for California residents and 2.8 for non-California residents. And that is the overall GPA in UC transferable courses. However, in reality, most campuses do not admit students at GPAs that low, so students should always aim higher. The specific GPA that's needed to actually be admitted is going to vary by campus and by major. So in general, the higher students' GPA is, the more options they're going to have for where to be admitted and where to ultimately attend. But these are strict minimum GPA and unit and course requirements. Okay, so the transfer admission guarantee, I mentioned this briefly earlier, or the TAG, is a guarantee to a specific major at one of 6 campuses which offer the TAG. So UC San Diego, UC Berkeley, and UCLA do not and never have offered the TAG. So students can apply through the UC application to those 3 campuses, and students can also apply through the UC application to any of these 6. But for students who meet the TAG requirements, which vary by campus and by major, if they complete all of the TAG requirements for a particular campus, that is 100% guarantee to that major at that campus. There are hundreds of major options available across these 6 campuses which offer the TAG. And the specific requirements vary. The GPA requirements for TAG are anywhere from a 2.7 to a 3.5. Again, just varying a lot by campus and by major. So for the TAG, students should select a specific major at a specific campus to meet the TAG requirements for. And then they can also apply through the regular UC application to other additional campuses if they want. The TAG is completely free. It is not binding, so students do not have to ultimately attend the campus that they tag to. And it's only available to California community college students. So this is one of the ways in which our campuses prioritize California community college transfer applicants. So it's a really fantastic program that I encourage every eligible student to look into and pursue. There is a document online called the UC Tag Matrix, where you can see the tag requirements for all 6 campuses and easily compare and contrast those requirements. So the UC Tag Matrix, and then tag requirements are also available for these campuses on the individual campus websites. Switching gears here from the admission requirements, actually, before we switch gears to cost of attendance and financial aid, I do want to mention each individual campus beyond the tag sets their own selection criteria in terms of major preparation. So students should always research online on the campus websites and assist.org to see what courses are required for their major at each campus, because that information will vary. All right, cost of attendance and financial aid. So I've got some fun statistics and numbers here for you. Some of this information, the bars in blue, pertains to freshman applicants. So you can see the equivalent percentages for transfer applicants. So the first year retention rate, which is fantastic, almost 93% of our transfer students every year return for their second year. The 2-year transfer graduation rate you can see is about 57%. And the 2-year transfer graduation rate, I'm wondering if that is supposed to say 3-year, because that seems to be the same thing. I'm guessing that third bar is supposed to say 3-year transfer graduation rate at 88.8%. So the majority of our transfer students are graduating within 2 to 3 years. The average time to degree is 2.3 years after transfer for a transfer student. And that's going to vary by, I would say mostly by major. and also by how many major preparation courses a student completes before transfer. So that doesn't mean every transfer student is transferring to the UC, staying for 2 years and 1 quarter, and that's it. Some students may graduate in 2 years or even less, and some students may graduate in 3 years. It'll just vary from major to major and campus to campus. But the transfer route in general is going to be much cheaper than the freshman route because students are paying for roughly half of the tuition and cost of attendance as freshmen because they're at the UC for about half as long. So we see a lot of students intentionally going the transfer route as a cost-saving device. So some information about tuition and financial aid. And again, this is where our priority for California residents come in, but 42% of UC graduates have no debt when they graduate. So close to half of our students have no debt, which is amazing. I wish it was higher, and we'll hope to get there. 57% pay $0 in tuition. So how does this happen? This happens through financial aid, such as grants and scholarships, which 72% of our students receive some sort of grant or scholarship. One program I do want to highlight is the Blue and Gold Opportunity Program, where students whose families make less than $80,000 per year, 80, qualify for free tuition and fees at each UC campus. So they get a grant or scholarship to completely cover the cost of tuition. And those students often also qualify for financial aid to cover housing and other living expenses. But we do have a commitment to our students to make UC as affordable as possible. So I'm not going to lie and say that, college is not expensive and UC is not expensive, but it is a worthwhile investment, especially when financial aid is taken into account. There's also the middle class scholarship for students whose families make less than $100,000 per year. So lots of financial aid options available. All that students need to do to be considered for financial aid is submit either the FAFSA or the California DREAM Act application. So the UC application for admission actually doubles as a scholarship application. It's technically the UC application for admissions and scholarships. So it's just that application, and then either the FAFSA or the California DREAM Act application, and students will be automatically considered for financial aid at each UC. So one of the things students can do to maximize their chances of getting a great financial aid package is to submit the FAFSA or the California DREAM Act application early in the application filing period. So both of those applications open on October 1st, and the deadline is March 2nd, which students can definitely apply for closer to October 1st is what I recommend. Here's that information about the Blue and Gold Opportunity Plan. And I do want to highlight that students should really be in charge of their own process and make sure that they're doing their research into financial aid timelines, deadlines, all the lingo and the communication practices. It is a lot, but it is super important for students to, again, maximize their opportunities for financial aid. So students can also apply for scholarships external from the UC, outside of the UC application. So students might want to spend a little time each week submitting scholarship applications. Some UC campuses also have scholarship search engines for their current students after they transfer or begin at the university. So there are other ways to access scholarship and financial aid money, and also to minimize costs, cost of living, having roommates, not bringing a car, things like that. So again, every campus has resources available to students because we understand college is a lot of money, and we want to make it as affordable and worthwhile as possible for all of our students. All right, we are actually nearing the end of our slides here, so we'll have lots of time for Q&A. The next couple slides are options to maybe screenshot or take a photo of. These are some really helpful websites that I want to highlight. So general admission information can be found on the University of California admissions website, including all of those minimum requirements that we talked about earlier today. And UC admissions selection process can also be found on that same admission.universityofcalifornia.edu website. But each individual UC campus, their website is also going to have even more specific information about the transfer selection process for their campus. So the UC admissions website is a great place to start. And then I encourage students to also use individual campus resources. The UC Transfer Admission Guarantee Matrix, the tag matrix that I mentioned earlier, that link is right there, and that's updated every year. Then our next resource slide is the personal insight questions. So part of the UC application is that students need to answer 4 short answer personal insight questions. And so we have extensive guidance on the University of California admissions website for how to best answer those questions, which may be used in the admission process. They may also be used in the scholarship awarding process. More information about application procedures and how to fill out the application, also online. And then the UC tag, so more information about the tag can be found on that website. And then assist.org, I mentioned briefly earlier, is an invaluable resource for any student that has taken courses at a California community college. So information on Assist includes information about which courses from community colleges are UC transferable, and which courses are required or recommended for major preparation at every UC campus, and incidentally at the California State University campuses as well. So that is a fantastic resource for community college students and counselors. And then finally, some information for financial aid, undocumented students, that blue and gold opportunity plan that I mentioned. And again, that's not something students have to do any extra application for. They're automatically considered for it based on the UC application and their financial aid application, as well as the middle class scholarship. And then links to the FAFSA and the California DREAM Act application are there. So with that, that is the end of our prepared slides. Let me turn my video back on. We have about 15 more minutes, just under. So Tim and Chris, were there any questions in the chat that we want to answer out loud, or attendees, if you have any questions, please drop them in the chat now and I'd be happy to answer those. Actually, there's a question in the chat. Can I share the last slide? I certainly can. So let me go back to share my screen. There you are. So there's that last slide, if you want to take a picture of that again. And I'm happy to go back to any other slides as well if you'd like me to do that. Just let me know. All right, looks like we might not have too many questions, so maybe we'll wrap up a few minutes early here. But the recording will be available, I believe, online and emailed to folks. Christy, I'll turn it over to you.
All right, great. Well, thank you so much for your expertise. I did throw some information into the chat. Actually, everything I'm saying is there in the chat. Thank you so much for joining us. If you're watching live or if you're watching a recording of this, when you leave here, if you are live with us, there is a quick 4-question survey. Please give us your feedback. You can sign up for more sessions. We have them tonight for you. And a recording of this is available on our website and will be sent to you if you signed up for this, and of course sent to our panelists as well. With that, best of luck in this process. Thank you so much for joining us. Stay safe, stay well, and have a good afternoon.